So today I'm going to be talking about my research which deals with the selective and sustainable separation of rare earth metals. And the verse that I recited was from Surah Al-Rahman, chapter 55, verses 8 through 10. The translation of these verses is as follows. And the heaven he has raised high and set up a measure, so that you may not transgress the measure. So weigh all things in justice and fall not short of the measure. As the title of this chapter, Al-Rahman, this chapter is discussing Allah Ta'ala's grace and what He has provided for our sustenance. And a lot of the things that He has provided is important for us to cherish the gifts that Allah Ta'ala has given. And that includes the plants and the water and taking care of our environment. And so, as an organic chemist, I was very interested in trying to utilize my knowledge of organic chemistry and apply it towards trying to help the environment and help take care of Allah Ta'ala's creation and help take care of our resources that we have. And by the grace of Allah, I was blessed with the opportunity to start a postdoctoral fellowship where I'm recycling rare earth metals. So rare earth metals are what and where do we find them? Well, you basically have a bunch of rare earth metals in your pocket right now. A lot of your iPhones, your cell phones utilize rare earth elements such as gadolinium and yttrium and europium, especially for the screens. Neodymium magnets you probably heard of, and these are very powerful magnets that utilize neodymium as that rare earth element. Dysprosium as well is found in hard drives and also electric cars. Europium is used in rods at nuclear power plants and also to help in display screens for televisions. Lanthanum used in batteries, and also a lot of these rare earth elements are used for wind turbines and even solar panels. So if mankind is currently progressing towards trying to discover a new form of energy and look at improving our technology, it's important for us to look at these rare earth metals and what are they. And really, the rarity, they're not actually that rare. So rare earth metals, most of them are quite abundant in the Earth's crust. The rarity stems from the challenge of isolating these rare earth metals. These metals have very similar chemical and physical properties. And because of that, they all get clumped together. So if you were to dig up from a mine or an ore of rare earth metals, it would be a mixture of several rare earth metals that would have to undergo harsh separation processes to get the individual rare earth metals that you want. And this is done on an industrial scale. It's very time consuming and it costs a lot of money. And a lot of the companies that have been starting to mine for rare earth metals are not making a lot of profit because the process of doing so is not very efficient. So if we look at what we were using rare earth metals, for the first half of the 20th century, no one was really concerned about rare earth metals and what they were used for. As technology progressed, we started implementing rare earth metals into the different materials, into different technologies that we were using. And the advantage is that rare earth elements are very small compared to some of the other elements. And this has allowed and enabled us to decrease the size of our technology and have more space, which is what allows us to have a large 128 gigabyte flash drive in a small little thumb-sized device. As time progressed and as we started advancing and looking at new technologies, the United States of America was the leading producer of rare earth elements. However, the rare earth elements that the United States was producing were referred to as the lighter rare earth elements. So there are two classifications. One is the light rare earth elements, and you also have heavy rare earth elements. And these lighter rare earth elements are stuff you use in catalytic converters and other devices that have become very important. As more recently, however, the country of China has started producing a lot more of these heavier rare earth elements. And currently, China is producing at least 90% of the rare earth elements, and they are exporting the rare earth elements out to the United States and to other countries across the world. The United States currently does not have a system set to recycle any of these elements that we're getting. We're using a lot more elements than we are basically getting. So the United States, we're more interested in these heavier rare earth metals, which are used in a lot of our devices and technological devices that we use, tablets, iPhones, and so forth. But we're not making any here in the US. We're getting it from China. And recently China has decided to keep all of those rare earth resources, or keep more of it and export less. So it's very important for us here in America to figure out a way where we can create a sustainable platform for keeping rare earth elements, rare earth metals, so that we can continue to use them. And also develop a more efficient way of mining for these elements. So going back to that verse, as Allah Ta'ala has said that He has provided these kinds of resources for us, for our technologies and things for us to advance. But it's important that we don't transgress that measure. And because we're using so much of these resources, we need to figure out a way to recycle them, to bring them back so that we're not just throwing them away and they're not getting dumped out. I hope I'm not exceeding too much time. So, unfortunately I don't have many visuals, so I'm going to have to try to explain the whole process is for our research. So essentially when rare earth elements are mined, they're mined as ores, and these ores are then processed through different acid type processes to form these salts. And it's a mixture of different rare earth elements. Like I said, they have very similar chemical and physical properties, so it's very difficult to just separate and mine for one at a time. This mixture then has to undergo a separation process. The separation then provides these rare earth oxides that are reduced, and you get these individual elements that you can then use for different devices and different technologies. After these technologies reach their end of life cycle, sometimes they can get recycled, but only parts get recycled. We're not able to recycle and remove out the individual elements, and sometimes those get thrown out, or just thrown away and ignored, and they get piled up and not used again. So our method is to use these elements and collect them and then go through the recycling process. And when they are all collected and put together, they will be recycled, again mixed, and then have to be separated. So all of it basically revolves around this separation process, and that is where my research lies, is designing an organic compound. So if you were to imagine playing that little game where you have a claw and you have to go and grab the specific stuffed animal that you want to from a pool of stuffed animals. What I am doing is I'm designing an organic compound to act as an extractant, to go and act as a claw and extract out a specific element from a pool of elements, and then take that element away. And this is done through a solvent-solvent extraction method, which, because time is up, I cannot delve any further. However, I will have a poster discussing this as well, and hopefully I can expand on this during that time. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum.